Oh, hello. Welcome to our house. I'm the 17th clone, directly descending from the original Meow Wolfer Benji Geary.
I'm not helping at all.
It seems that you've caught me preparing a protoplasmic enzyme for my siblings and myself. You know, a lot of different ingredients go into making a nutrient-rich slurry like this. One could say it's kind of similar to the way Meow Wolf works to create their gigantic installations. So while this stews, why don't I tell you a tale? A tale of art, a tale of collaboration, a tale of punk rock, and my personal favorite, weirdos. I hope you're excited, because I know I'm beside myself.
First of all, there was Warehouse 21. Warehouse 21 was a place we all hung out, except it was being bulldozed, so we needed a space. We found a space on the corner of 2nd Street, and we named it Meow Wolf, like an exquisite corpse, by pulling names out of a hat. After that, we had our first actual art show, visual art show, which was called Meowzors. That was with Quinn and Matt. They started muraling the whole place up, and then eventually just started building sculptures out of the walls. And everybody was like, hey, this is kind of cool, like build more sculptures. We want this place to be real weird. And then they did. Then it became the first multimedia immersive shit. And then Mary Charlotte invited us on the radio. We talked, it was really fun, and she's great, a total friend. Eventually that first space, we had to leave. And then Sarah Coleman Craig, who was totally rad and our friend, gave us money to exist in the Hopewell space. Hopewell Street was way more grimy and bigger, which was kind of great. So we had to do a lot of crazy cleaning. We did a bunch of music shows and art shows there that were really, really, really cool, but it was a little dank and more low budget, and the electricity was kind of weird. Then Erica Wanamaker, who can make anything and is a rad artist, came and started working with us. She liked our show so much, she invited her gallerist, Linda Durham, Big Deal Gallery. Man, she actually gave us a show, which blew our minds, because she was a big-time gallerist in Santa Fe. We became friends with Mark and Garth, who are totally rad. They became friends with Meow Wolf, and they still support us. The first thing we did back at Warehouse 21, it was different. It was called The Moon is to Live On. It was the first play, and it was the first show we ever did with like an actual budget. Hopewell was great, except we started losing money, and we had to get out of there. Gone. And then we were invited to do a show at the CCA Munoz Waxman Gallery, which was gigantic, and it freaked us out, but we were so excited. That show was called The Do Return. That was the biggest thing we've done so far. It was a giant ship that traveled across dimensions. We started working in public schools across Santa Fe, and we were invited to go to different cities across the United States, like Las Cruces in Chicago, New York City, and Florida. It was nuts. Still, we missed home, and it wasn't sustainable. People wanted Meow Wolf shows, but they cost way too much to put on. We really wanted something that was permanent, that we operated, but it was in Santa Fe, and the bowling alley was available. Weirdly enough, we met George R.R. Martin. He became our total angel sugar daddy, which was rad. We got accepted into a program called Creative Startups, which introduced a couple of Meow Wolfers to the complete business side of things, which we didn't really know much about. And now here we are, getting ready to do our first permanent exhibition at the bowling alley. Woo.
Meow Wolf started because there was a lot of artistic energy happening within our little mini community back in 2008, and we didn't really have a place to express a venue of our own.
There was all these punk bands that were coming through Santa Fe that, you know, normally we would have set up shows for, but there was nowhere for them to go, and so they were starting to play in all these like friends' basements and friends' houses and stuff, and the police would no doubt come, and we were like, we just need a space, like let's just finally get a space.
2008, I was driving down 2nd Street and saw a space that was available to rent, and that's really where it began, was an empty space. Called a meeting that night, and we committed to starting a collective.
At first it was, you know, mostly for music shows, but then we realized, you know, hey, we're all artists too, and there's not really a venue for any of us to show any of our weird art, you know, especially in Santa Fe, that is, you know, its own autonomous, actual art space.
Two of our members at the time, Matt King and Quinn Tinger, did a show to kick off the space. They spent, you know, 18 hours a day creating, at first was just mural work on the walls, and then it started coming off the walls in form of like tree branches and paper mache and little like inside jokes like a floating hat, and then sound. And so then by the end of it, when it opened, it was what we now know as a multimedia immersive exhibit. So that set the tone for us. Now we get what we're doing, like we're creating worlds.
My name is Brother Eloy. We sent here first as a faction of the community of the new technology of the violet flame.
Meow Wolf at that time was, just a bunch of artists, a lot of whom grew up here in Santa Fe, wanted to see something interesting happen here in Santa Fe, and weren't gonna wait for somebody else to do it.
It was a collective of people. Everybody had his or her own aesthetic, but they were doing it together, and it wasn't like, I'm signing my signature on this fabulous work of art. It was like, let's put our energy together and make something that's bigger than any individual one of us, and yet individual expression was also very much a part of it.
The first 3 years were just like such a wild and fun ride. It was just this mess. It was total chaos. We had no formalized hierarchy.
When I think about like the best memories of Meow Wolf, it's like I think about really cold spaces, like actual temperature cold, like artists in survival, making something out of absolutely nothing. I mean, no money, no materials, no heat.
The joy behind painting something a crazy color, of like being allowed because we're the ones who are allowing anyone to do whatever we want.
We didn't have very lofty expectations. It was just fun.
We had done 5 or 6 of these big environmental installations, and we had a pretty good grasp on the people that were involved with Meow Wolf and what we want to see.
And then there was this amazing moment where they decided to take all of that energy and take that aesthetic and make a play. And the play was called The Moon is to Live On.
Remember lying down to go to bed and sleep all night.
I really wanted to uplift the quality of work and the scope of work, the ambition of work, and include budgets. I came in basically saying we need to raise money and we need to make money and we need to try to sustain this in some form.
The Moon is to Live On really took the kind of chaotic, immersive installation thing and brought it into like the context of a theater production, which by necessity needs some organization. There has to be some hierarchy. And that was our first kind of experimentation with having some kind of structure, but just enough structure that the chaos and looseness and fluidity could still be there.
I really feel like it was a step forward in the history of theater that unfortunately nobody knows about except the small handful of people who saw it.
The bridge together I cross with the sleep.
Early on, it was like crazy immersive installations, then The Moon is to Live On happened, and then we did the Do Return. In the 3 months that the Do Return was up, we saw 25,000 visits through the door, which just absolutely blew our mind.
We saw that what we produce is, it's not something that's just for art goers. It's something for kids. It's something for people who don't feel comfortable in a normal art gallery. I mean, we saw that people who came to the Do Return, they were starving for imagination. Just the idea that they could walk into this space and be in a fantastic world like we created. We had kids coming back like every weekend, like over and over and over again. So we realized at that point we have something going here.
After the Do Return, we got a lot of attention from a lot of different galleries and institutions all over the country.
San Antonio, Chicago, Miami, New York.
Each time we get invited to one of these places and we think about what's gonna happen to Meow Wolf because of this. This exposure is gonna lead us to the next big thing. And we did it, and we did it, and we did it, and nothing ever happened. It's exciting for a while, and then you do it, and you do it, and it's like, I don't know if I wanna do this anymore.
We don't really fit in the art world. We are art, and we are part of the art world, but not into the art world model of business, which is commission-based. It's like we realize that we need to not just create the art, we need to create the entire complex that the art sits in.
Meow Wolf had been traveling all over the country doing these shows, and we were we were not exactly sure the future of what we were going to be doing, and that's when we got this call that you were never expecting and you never really want to get.
Like kindling said, let's sit together.
And love.
The light of the moment yet to be discovered.
Discovered.
1 year ago, just about like almost to the day, we lost a member of Meow Wolf, like a very core, active member of Meow Wolf and friend named David Lockridge.
David was very closely involved with all of the shows, and he was a workhorse.
His energy and his spirit had a capability to plow through a mountain. David's presence into the group was a total strengthening of what it was that we did. Losing him last year was really devastating and out of nowhere, and it strangely brought Meow Wolf together again. We had fractured, and David's passing put us all into the same space again.
David is a big fantasy fan and loves Game of Thrones, and that's something we used to do together, is watch Game of Thrones.
About a month before he passed away, he said, "Vince, how crazy would it be if we got George R.R. Martin to help Meow Wolf with our next big project?" And a month after David passed away, I was sitting in front of George R.R. Martin talking about Meow Wolf.
All right, so here we are at the former Silva Lanes bowling alley. They also used to have karaoke and a sports bar here, and pretty soon this is going to be the new home of Meow Wolf.
We now have this building. We have the old Silva Lanes, and that's going to become Meow Wolf, and within it's going to be Meow Wolf's first permanent exhibition, and I think it's going to completely blow people's minds. We want to transport audiences into many other dimensions within the same show. The way we're going to do that is, your access point into these other dimensions is going to be a 2-story Victorian house. And something has happened inside of this house that has caused portals to rip open parts of the house and lead into 100 other worlds. We basically create a story that is discoverable and explorable, and audiences can go through and experience the magical visuals of the show, or can also dig deeper and learn what happened in this house. We're embarking on a new form of storytelling that is going to be quite engaging for audiences of all ages.
When we started to succeed to capture an audience, to find an audience, the question was born, what does this turn into? And it was apparent really early on, if this continues to grow, eventually we'll have to have a permanent place. And so the bowling alley is that. It's a venue for our first permanent work.
The business model that we've come up with is actually fairly simple. It's basically an admissions-based business. We're looking at children's museums, we're looking at Explora in Albuquerque, we're looking at movie theaters, we're looking at miniature golf and all that kind of stuff. But taking those forms of family entertainment into a realm of unique, non-corporate art experiences that are made by a local group of artists that really reflect a raw artistry. And we think that's an amazing product, and it doesn't exist, and it's gonna be destabilizing to the market to some degree.
We're not envisioning art as something that is on the wall and that you buy and that is so much of a commodity. We're more envisioning the idea of art as an experience.
As everybody knows, the art market right now for a young artist is impossible. We're not just trying to create a new art exhibit, we're trying to create a whole new model for how artists can create work and get paid for it.
We all united at the beginning under this core value that we wanted to contribute to something that was meaningful, that hopefully can have resonance and it can help other people, not just us.
We feel this drive to make Santa Fe a place where the standard is not just oh, well, it's cool for Santa Fe. It's no, it's cool for the entire world.
I would love 20 years from now to say that Meow Wolf created a whole new market for storytelling and for entertainment and for art.
There's nothing like home-cooked protoplasmic enzymes shared with family after a story. And after that story, I can tell you, I'm seeing double. We always love sharing knowledge with people. But the greatest part about this story is that it's not over. More of us are currently being churned out of the factory to continue our work. And who knows? Maybe you, or maybe even you, will be the newest in the ranks to join our family.